Okay, welcome back. And in this video, what we're going to do is we are going to discuss the third and final video, or third and final part of the file manipulation section of this playlist. Excuse me. In parts 1 and 2, we talked about other commands that we can use to manipulate files and directories. And in this video, we're going to build on some of the things we've already learned, and we will go ahead and move forward. So let's go ahead and get started. So we're right here. If we do an ls, which is something we learned from the last video, we can tell that we are where we left off at. We are going to go ahead and cd, which is a command that I think we've already discussed. It means change directory, and we're going to change into the text directory. Control L to clear and do an ls again, and there are our 3 text files that we manipulated in the last video. So let's go ahead and get started. The first command we're going to learn is chmod, and that is change mod, or change modification, however you want to word that. So I'm going to Control L, and we're going to do an ls-l to get the long listing. All right. So remember I told you in the last video to ignore these 3, or this little section here. And now what we're going to do is we're going to talk about this a little bit. And there's a couple different ways we can do this. And I mean that literally. There's a couple ways to do this. All right, there's a couple. All right, so what we're going to do here is we are going to go with the first one. That first little bit there is actually means that it's a file, since it's a dash. If we make dir, and we make dir directory, we'll just call it dir. I'm not very imaginative. All right, so we do ls -l. Okay, so notice that this directory, one, it's colored in blue because our Linux distribution has ls colors installed by default. But notice that that's now a D. That just means it's a directory. That's what that first bit there means. Okay, so you also notice that these next few things are different than these 3, or these things here. And I did kind of spoil it a little bit. I just said 3. That's because each one of these 9 are 3 different sections of 3. That section, this section, and this section. Let me go ahead and pump that up a little bit bigger so we can see it. Okay, so what this is it's talking about who can access what. So if I wanted this here, this first set is the owner of the file. The second section, okay, it's actually, we're going to use the word user instead because we're using u. Okay, the second section is the group, or G, and the third section is other, or O. All right, so with this here, again, that's the user, the person that owns the file. Okay, then a group, and then other, or the rest of the world. Okay, this section right here talks about the owner and the group. Okay, so LTL is the owner of the file. LTL is also the group that has permissions to the file as well. So this 3 corresponds with this user. The second 3 corresponds with the group, and the last 3 corresponds with everyone else. Okay, so we can do numerical values. For example, if we wanted to, let's man chown real quick. And we'll scroll down and see if it talks about the numerical values. Oh, I'm sorry, not chown. That's the next command we're talking about. My bad. Q for quit. Man chmod. It's like, why is this not looking right? Okay, we're changing file mode bits. Okay, so if we scroll down here, it should talk about, and of course it's not. I don't know why it wouldn't. Anyway, we're using numerical values, or we can actually use symbols. And we'll talk about that in just a second here. We're going to keep it simple here. So we got read, write, and execute, read, write, and execute. So let's do this. If anytime you don't want to use the man page, or you find that the man page is not helpful, you can go to Google, of course, And let's go ahead and Google chmod flags and see what that does. See what that comes back with. All right, let's go ahead and look at this one here. It's the very first one on here. Let's see if they talk about the permissions and the numbers. Right, so it's basically doing the same thing here. This first one's the file type, and there's talk about owner permissions, group permissions, and other permissions. There's a lot of other things on here it might talk about. We're going to pause that. Okay, so we got read, write, and execute. Is it going to talk about the number values that go along with it? Of course it's not. There we go. This is what I'm looking for here. All right, so you have R for read, W for write, and execute for X. Okay, so as you can see here, it's talking about how you can add these together. For the owner, for read, write, and execute, it's 4 plus 2 plus 1, because we're 4 for read plus 2 for write plus 1 for execute equals 7. All right. For the group, that's what WRX means. W-X or R-X would be read, no write permissions, plus execute gives them 5. Okay. And you can also do the same thing with here. This is a bit of a typo because it shouldn't be R-X and R-X, and both of them have different values. That X should not be there. That should be an R-dash. So you have 4 plus 0 plus 0. All right, so you remember you have the 4, 2, and 1 for read, write, and execute. And a lot of people will not like to use that. So let's take that text.txt down there. And you got 4 plus 2 plus 1. Okay. So you got 4 because that's there. Plus 2 is 6. And then there's 0 in the third one. So that is 6, 6, 4. Because remember, R has a value of 4. So 6, 6, 4. So if we wanted to change this to a different value, like let's say we wanted everybody in the world, everybody in the known universe to be able to read, write, and execute that file, we can just do a chmod 777 on text.txt. Okay, so now when we do an ls-l, it changes it green because everybody in the universe can read, write, and execute to it. Okay. If I wanted to put it back, if you remember, that's 6, 6, 4. So we'll go ahead and up arrow this again, and we want to change this to 6, 6, 4 and hit enter. I'm going to clear it out because it's getting a little crowded. So when I do the ls-l, notice it put it back 6, 6, 4. Well, instead of remembering that R is 4, or read, write is 2, and execute is 1, and having to do basic math, there's another way we can do that. I can do chmod, and this way we can actually use the letters that we want. And I find that this is actually easier to do. Okay, so if I wanted to do that, I can just do plus, read, write, and execute the text.txt file. Okay, cleared it out, and notice it is kind of sort of back. Read, write, and execute for everyone. So basically what we're going to do here is now I can also put this back. Let me go ahead and put it back the way it was. 664 ls-l, and it's back the way it wanted, the way we wanted it. We can go even further if we wanted to do that. We can chmod. Now remember, I said the first group is the owner or the user. So we're going to use the U for user. Okay, and then I can either add the execute to it. I do that. Oh, I didn't complete it. I need to tell it what I want to change. Okay, clear that out. Now if we look at it, the owner can now read, write, and execute. Pull that command back up, because remember we just added the plus X for the user. I can also do the same thing for the group, the G. And now the user and the group can also execute it. Let's go ahead and put that back. 664. So now it's back. I can go even further than that. So what I can do is I can do chmod, and the user is going to equal rwx, comma, the group is going to equal r, comma, and other, the rest of the world, is going to equal rwx. And that's going to be for text.text. That looks long, it looks encrypted, but now that you know that this is the user, group, and user, we'll be able to see that when we open this up. So let's see if it's reflective. The user is rwx. The user is rwx. The group is equal to read only. And everybody else can also rwx. Of course, this is kind of a nonsensical way to assign file permissions, but it serves the purpose of demonstration. I can take that even further in the good old-fashioned infomercial, but wait, there's more. So I can chmod. I can go UG equals rwx, comma O equals or minus rwx, and put text on there. So you can not only add or make equal to, you can actually minus from too. So when we do that, now user and group has read, write, and execute, and the other has nothing whatsoever. Let's go ahead and put that back. And I find this method a lot easier than having to remember that 4 equals read, 2 equals write, and 1 equals execute. I find this just, it's a lot easier. There's more typing involved, but it's a lot easier to understand, at least for me. And there we are back to where we were. Okay, so the next thing we're going to talk about is the chown command, CHOWN, okay, which means change owner. So with this, though, we're going to have to use our old trusty sudo from a few videos ago, because we have to, what I'm about to do requires it to be sudo. I don't have to use sudo for the chown command, but if you're changing the permissions to anybody other than yourself, you'll need the sudo command. So I am going to change ownership of the text.txt file. But what I want to do is I want to change ownership to the root user and the root group. So I can use the user by itself, or I can put a colon and tell it what group to use as well. And when I hit enter, it's going to ask me for my password. And now when we look at it, the root user is the owner, and the root group also have permission to this file. Now check this out though. Everybody else can read it. Well, LTL is part of everybody else. So if I cat text.txt, I will not get any error messages. Okay. If I nano text.txt, it tells me right here, this file is unwritable because I don't own the file. I don't have permissions to change it anymore. So go ahead and Control X to get out of there. I can go back up here to my chown, and if I want to put that back, I can do LTL, colon LTL, to put it back exactly the way it was. I can also keep the root group the same. Or if it's the same group, I don't even need to put the group in there. I just hit enter. ls-l. Typo. And while I own it, root can still have access to it too. And this is going to be helpful. This is especially helpful in enterprise, where you have this file is available to, like, say, the sales group, or to the tech group, or the admin group, or whatever. So the user has this permission, and this is where it really shines, okay? And root also can read and write, but root can't execute the file. That's fine, it's not an executable, it's not a script anyway. But anyway, let's go ahead and chown that back to ourselves the way it was. And we do an ls-l, we're good to go there. All right, the last two, we are about 15 minutes into the video. These last two commands, they are fairly simple, very straightforward, and will only take me about a minute or so to explain them, and that's going to be the commands head and tail. If we do a head, basically what this is going to do is it's going to, by default, list the first 10 lines in the text file. We can modify that to say I only want to see the first 5, and it will only give me the first 5. If I want to see the first 50, it will do 50. This is not 50 lines long, so it'll just copy. It'll just show me the whole thing. All right. Now, that's the first 10 lines for the head of the file. Tail is the exact same, except for it's the last 5 lines in the file, or the last 10 lines in the file if I leave that out. That's all there is to it. Head and tail, and you can tell it how many lines to copy out. Anyway, if you like these videos and like to see more, make sure you click like, subscribe, smash that notification bell, and leave a comment if you have any issues or questions in the comment section below. See you next time.